Welcome to EPG Pathshala. I am Dr. Mrinmoy Pramanik. I teach comparative Indian language and literature at the University of Calcutta. Today, we will discuss a module on literary writings on settlement and nationalism in Australian literature. The module is prepared by Muhammad Samsuzzaman. Australian literature is all about Australian identity, displacement, nationhood, modernity and settlement. Literature of Australia mainly maps the picture of the lives and experiences of indigenous and settled people in British colonial era and how they have contributed for the development of national consciousness and modernization of the nation. On the other hand, Australian literature explores how European people who had settled in Australia have played an important role to develop national consciousness as Australians with the intuition of displacement and isolation. For the primordial people, their traditional cultures, story, song, and legend serve to define adherences and relationships both to others, to the land that brought up them. For modern Aboriginal people, written literature has been a way of both claiming a voice and articulating a sense of cohesion as a people faced with real threats to the continuance of their culture. Big masses of first world countries traveled Oceanian continent in searching of resources and markets to output the products after the technological and industrial revolution and advancement in Europe. Before 1850, there was no existence of Australian identity. Australia was the colonies of European countries. After many nationalist movements fought by the settled people against imperial oppression, the colonial era was ended and at 1st January 1900, Australia was declared as a new democratic sovereign country. Now, let us talk in a brief about settlement in Australia. According to statistical data, 97% of total Australians were settled in various parts of Australia from the whole world, especially from the colonies of British Empire. The New South Wales colony was captured by British Empire in 1788 with the advent of the First Fleet, and 5 other colonies were set up in the early 19th century. Now Australia has 6 states. The large number were transported of these colonies of Australia at the time of colonial era, and they made up a substantial percentage of the population in the various parts of colonized Australia. Large-scale settlement did not occur until 1850s, following a series of gold accumulation. Further waves of settlement happened after the First and Second World Wars, with many post-World War II migrants coming from Europe and other countries of the Middle East, Asia, the Pacific Islands, Africa, and Latin America. Before European settlement, Australia was inhabited by various indigenous people, approximately 2.8% of total population: Aboriginal Australians, Aboriginal Tasmanians, and Torres Strait Islanders are Melanesian people. A small percentage of present-day Australians descend from these peoples. Abbott and Freeman informed it. Till now we try to talk about the population composition and the racial composition in population in Australia. And now let us focus on the question of nationalism in Australia. Last 2 decades of 19th century are recked off as the era of the growth of nationalism in Australia. From that time, a vast amount of literary text have produced about the nationalism and transnationalism of the Australians. This year is the turning point of Australia because from this year, the British colonial rule was ended and autonomous Australia had formed. A weekly magazine bulletin published from Sydney has immense contribution for the development of nationalistic and egalitarian sentiment in Australia in the final decades of 19th century. The writers of this magazine have depicted the experiences and hardships of the ordinary Australians, especially the farmers. Further, it also deals with the literary text which has immense contribution for the development of national consciousness. Australian identity with its own culture and traditions. The writers also depict the pictures of Australia's landscape which they consider as their national heritage. Meg Tasker, in his article Two Versions of Colonial Nationalism, the Australasian Review of Review versus the Sydney Bulletin, says, 1885, the Bulletin became the journalistic voice of a stridently anti-English, anti-imperial republicanism. The motto, Australia for the Australians, was not unique to the Bulletin, but it succinctly expressed a resistance to late colonial imperialism that took various forms at different times, including republicanism, socialism, opposition to British imperialist Malians, to British imperialist Malians. Nation is defined by many scholars and critics. Now we are going to discuss 2 famous critics' definition and ideas about nation. According to Benedict Anderson, nation is an imagined political community and imagined as both inherently limited and sovereign. He argues that nation is imagined community because though the citizens of even a smallest nation will never know all their fellow citizens, though they cannot meet them or hear of them, yet they imagine that there is inherent connection among them. Even the citizens of a country can never know each of the other, yet they have affinity and interest as part of the same nation. It is also imagined community because the concept of it was born in an age in which the Enlightenment and Revolution was destroying the legitimacy of divinely dynastic reign. He further explains that nation is political because it has democratic government. He says that the nation is also sovereign and limited because beside the geographical boundaries of a nation, the other nations exist. A nation gets its existence through the revolution against colonization and the decline of the divinely hereditary monarchy. The other nation does not have the right to invade to a nation. Ernest Gellner defines nation as two men are of the same nation if and only if they recognize each other as belonging to the same nation. In other words, nations make man. Nations are the artifacts of men's convictions and loyalties and solidarities. Loyalties and solidarities. A mere category of persons, say occupants of a given territory or speakers of a given language, for example, becomes a nation if and when the members of the category firmly recognize certain mutual rights and duties to each other in virtue of their shared membership of it. It is their recognition of each other as fellows of this kind which turns them into a nation, and not the other shared attributes, whatever they might be, which separate that category from non-members. The churnings of Australian nationalism reach to the arena of journalists, novelists, poets, short story writers, and indeed the common man in Australia. They felt the urge of a national calling and unity. By 1882, Australia was without any of the major figures of its colonial literary period. Two major forms of nationalist text were poetry and short fiction. So, briefly, this is the situation about the birth of the concept of nationalism in Australian context and the literary production, early literary production in Australian literature. Now, let us focus on the Australian nationalist literary figures, poets. And one among those Australian nationalist literary figures or poets, one among the very renowned is Henry Lawson, 1867 to 1922. Henry Lawson is one of the best poets and short story writers in Australian literary history. He used to write mainly poems and short stories in late 19th century and the beginning of 20th century about the tiresome life and plight of ordinary poor Australians in the era of British colonialism. His poems have inspired Australians immensely to develop national consciousness and identity in that period by depicting his city, Australian bush and characters and ideals. His poems also deal with the theme of British colonial oppression, which affects Australians badly. Even he has used the language of ordinary Australians rather than copying the European English. Australianism is the main features of his literary text. Many of Henry Lawson's poems talk about the freedom and social, political, economical, cultural development of Australia by fighting against British colonialism. In the poem At the Beating of Drum, 1910, he says, "He shall be unknown who writes it, he shall soon forgotten be, but the song shall ring through ages as a song of liberty. And I say, the words and music of our battle hymn shall come when Australia wakes in anger at the beating of a drum." In the poem To Be Amused, which was published in 1906 by Henry Lawson, has depicted the picture of brutality of British colonialism. The poem has explored how the British imperialists have destroyed the natural and human resources in the era of British colonization. According to him, I see again with haggard eyes the thirsty land, the wasted flood, unpeopled plains beyond the skies, and precious streams that run to mud. The ruined health, the wasted wealth in our mad cities by the seas, the black race suicide by stealth, the starved and murdered industries. Now, let us talk about and the poet of this significance is Christopher Brennan, 1872-1932. Christopher Brennan is one of the eminent poets of late 19th century. Most of his poems, especially The Bush, giving importance to the internal sceneries as it arouses a sense of miserable prolapse of the fatherland. Brennan's famous poems, 1913, composed in the 1890s, depicted Australia, one of the fundamental qualities of Australian writing, especially in the matter of Australian poetry composing, has been explored the nation's unique, undomesticated, and often prognostic landscape, which brings the sense of love of the nation among the Australians. At the time of ending 19th century, perception of the bush and of the rocky figures who settled it had developed an integral center to the Australian literary celebrity. The bush tradition, in this distinctive divergence to the urban landscape, offered a symbolic source of endurance and renewal compared with the city as a site of depreciation and fraud. Now, Alison Whittaker, Lemon in the Chicken Wire, 2016, a collection by Alison Whittaker, Gomeroi poet from Gunnedah and Tamworth, northwestern New South Wales, which depicts the life of Aboriginal with their particular cultural identities in a rural town. Her poems examine how the life of Aboriginal people is developing in the rural area of New South Wales in the post-colonial era. This collection of poems also deals with the culture and society of Aboriginal people, which help to develop national sentiment among the Australians. Her famous poems are Carry the One, The Double Mirror, and The Body Country, etc. Another very famous, renowned poet is Oodgerro Nunukkal, 1922-1993. Oodgerro Nunukkal, or Kath Walker, is eminent poet and political activist for the Aboriginal people of Australia. She published her first book of poetry, We Are Going, in 1964. As a first Aboriginal writer or poet, Kath Walker's poetry is considered as the voice of Aboriginal people. Her poetry inspires all the Australians to unite with the feeling, nationality, and ethnicity. Her other collections of poetry talk about the Aboriginal rights, social justice, and conservationism. Kath Walker's famous poems are The Past, 1970, Municipal Gum, 1960, A Song of Hope, 1960, and so on. In the poem We Are Going, she condemns European people's colonization on the Aboriginal Australians and their old Boer ground. She also criticizes the Europeans throughout her entire poem. An example of this is through the quote, Gone and scattered here. Kath Walker is denoting the imperialism by which European civilization became developed, subduing the Aboriginals on their old Boer ground. She says, they came into the little town, a semi-naked band, subdued and silent, all that remained of their tribe. They came here to the place of their old Boer ground, where now the many white men hurry about like ants. Notice of the estate agent reads, rubbish may be tipped here, now it half covers the traces of the old Boering. We are as strangers here now, but the white tribe are the strangers. We belong here, we are of the old ways, we are the Korobori and the Bora ground. Another very famous poet of this concept of nationalism in Australian literature or Australian poetry is A.B. Banjo Patterson, 1864 to 1941. A.B. Banjo Patterson was an Australian poet of bush tradition. He composed many ballad songs and collection of poetry which have focused the Australian life, especially the life of ordinary rural and backward people of Binalong, New South Wales districts, where he stayed many years of his childhood. Patterson's most outstanding poems include Waltzing Matilda, The Man from Snowy River, and Clancy of the Overflow, 1889, In Defense of the Bush, 1892, The Man from Ironbark, 1892, and so on. The Man from Snowy River, 1895, epitomizes the simple cadences, nostalgia, and sloppy subject matter, and classless viewpoint of the ordinary man out in the bush tradition that fascinated to Australian literary flavors of the period. Patterson was also respectively remembered for the narrative ballad Waltzing Matilda, which was considered as Australians' unofficial national anthem. The poem narrates a story of a thief who had stolen sheep and he attempted suicide to save himself from the cops. This poem is mainly famous for promoting national consciousness and unity among the Australians because of using Australian slang and humorous language in the whole poem. The poet used the Australian slang and irony to narrate a story of thief. Once a jolly swagman camped by a billabong under the shade of a kuliwa tree, and he sang as he watched and waited till his belly boiled, "He will come a waltzing Matilda with me." This is the first stanza where the phrase waltzing Matilda is a slang which could mean carrying a stolen property around the village by the thief. Now let us talk about nationalism in fictions and life writings. The idea of nation and Australian identity not only reflected in poetries but also in the life writings and fiction written in the last 2 decades of 19th century. The life writing and fiction narrative were considered as a medium of mainstream publishing breakthrough for both indigenous writing and many of the issues relating to Aboriginal personality and history that the text addresses. Many Australian life writing and the fiction have framed by a notion of national identity. We are going to discuss prominent life writings and fictions relating to national sentiment and identity. And one among those very famous figures are Sally Morgan, 1951. Sally is remembered for her famous autobiography My Place, which was published in 1987. This is considered as the historiography of the Aboriginal people of Australia. In this autobiography, she discovers her own aboriginality in her culture and heritage. She also narrates the story relating to the advent of Christianity among the Aboriginal people of Australia. Sally Morgan presents an incident that can be connected to both Aboriginal and settled Australians. In this life writing, she explores a history that requests both white and Aboriginal Australians to evaluate the past, whether or not a correct Aboriginal history has been told in Australia. Morgan also counters the indigenous reader with the notion of learning their past and embracing Aboriginal identity, even if it is hurting. Besides these writers, many other writers have incorporated with the theme nation, Australian identity, and bush tradition. As the bulletin defined, Australian literary styles and tastes at the end of the 19th century, it also promoted the writer that many deem the greatest Australian talent of the period, Henry Lawson. His early collection of simply structured, succinct, and naturalistic short stories, While the Billy Boils, 1896, is generally viewed as artistically his finest. The four short stories of Joe Wilson, 1901, interconnected by the presence of their common narrator, are significantly more complex than Lawson's prior tales. Taking the form of a proto-novel, Joe Wilson utilized some of the characteristic bulletin stylistic conventions epitomized in Lawson's earlier volume, while complicating the bush ideal of mateship, a strong, egalitarian bond of friendship between men that has since achieved a near mythic status as part of the Australian literary and social landscape. Even more so than Lawson, the writer who most captured the popular mind of bulletin readers and promulgated its themes was the poet A.B. Banjo Patterson. Patterson's immensely well-received collection of verse, The Man from Snowy River, 1895, exemplifies the simple rhythms, nostalgia, and sentimental subjects, and classless point of view of the common man out in the bush that appealed to Australian literary taste of the period. Patterson was also responsible for the narrative ballad Waltzing Matilda, a piece commonly regarded as Australia's unofficial national anthem. Unlike Patterson and other representative bulletin poets such as Bernard O'Dowd, whose Downward features such typically Australian verses as the piece entitled The Bush, Christopher Bremen is regarded as the outstanding literary poet of the era, despite his tendencies to defy its typically nationalist bent. Brennan's symbolic verse in poems 1913, much of it composed in the 1890s, scarcely mentions its locality in Australia, preferring internal landscapes as it evokes a sense of despairing alienation. The stories of Barbara Benton's collection Bush Studies 1902 and Miles Franklin's 1901 novel My Brilliant Career are two of the very few works of serious literature by Australian women in the period to have met with any critical recognition, largely because they were both well respected by A.G. Stephens. The setting of Benton's tales is solidly Australian, and the stories themselves describe the potentialities of loneliness and violence in the Australian bush with near grotesque detail. In contrast, Franklin's My Brilliant Career focuses on the life of a teenage girl. Its Australian setting and characters, however, are offset by its more universal thematic appeal. Among the host of remaining bulletin writers, such names as Francis Adams, Edward Dyson, William Astley, who wrote as Price Warung, Victor Dele, James Edmond, Steele Radic, Roderick Quinn, and Hugh McCrae also stand out, as does that of Joseph Furphy. Furphy's experimental comic novel Such Is Life, 1903, narrated by the philosophical Tom Collins, is an elusive, encyclopedic, and unconventional work that bridges the gap between the late 1890s bulletin style and the modernist innovations of the succeeding century. Now let us summarize the module. In this module, we learned about the birth of nationalism, the concept of nation, and the birth of nationalism in early writings in Australian literature and the later literature throughout the 19th century. Mostly we focuses on the poems, Australian poems and the concept of nation, and then we discussed about famous writers and their autobiographies, life writings and other fiction what reflected the concept of nationalism very deeply. For further reading, you can see the further reading list, and for the self-assessment, you can consult the self-assessment file attached here. Thank you.